In this video, we're going to take a look at how to create an assembly panel drawing in BluePrint PCB. Now, I've started off here with a fabrication drawing template. Page 1 on the left there is just a standard drill pattern, layer stack up notes, drill chart. Page 2 will be my panel drawing with its own drill chart, a scoring detail, and a mill tab detail. I'm going to import some data. BluePrint uses the single up board outline for panelization, so it's important that your incoming data have that information. That is standard in ODB++, IPC 2581, PADS ASCII. So these are the formats that we bring in to create our panel. There is a methodology of going through CAM 350 first, creating that board edge, and then coming from CAM 350 into BluePrint for those that don't have intelligent data. I've now imported my data. As you can see, the fab drawing to the left is almost complete. The assembly array drawing on the right, we're going to now concentrate on that and talk about how we can create an assembly array from that incoming data. First thing we want to do when we start working on our assembly array drawing is to decide how many boards up and what size we want our panel. If I right click on my panel and go to Format Panel, I can now specify how many boards, what spacing, what panel size to use, amongst some other things here as well. So let's start off with this 8x11, which is a good starting point. A 1/4 inch all the way around, and we'll leave it at 0.1 between the boards. We could try different rotations, looking for better utilization, but it looks like 4 is the best we're going to get. And then we can also have it recalculate the panel size at this point. So that's the smallest panel that we can still get our 2x2. I'm going to go into the spreadsheet mode and tell it to keep auto calc settings. And what I'm going to do is actually rotate boards 1 and 2. So I put those flat edges up against each other. And I can tell it to rotate in place. I've already added pinning holes in my standard locations, fiducials in my standard locations. I've rounded off the corners with a radius here, and I want to show image letters. All of these were set up in my template ahead of time. When you do go to add one of these, it's just as simple as hitting add, choose the object that you want to add, and then place it on your panel. So in this case, let's put one more tooling hole down here in the bottom right. Now we're ready to start editing our panel. The first thing I'm going to do is come over here, click on Edit Panel, and I'm going to add a web route to one of the boards. Now that web route itself can be formatted. Change the size, have a default size. And to that web route, I'm going to add some mill tabs. If I click on mill tabs over here, you can see that I have various mill tabs that I've created. We have a mill tab manager for creating mill tabs. One of these, though, is set as the default. And what that means is anytime I do a drag and drop from over here in my palette, that's the one that it's going to grab. So I'm just going to place 4 mill tabs here. Another thing you can do with the mill tabs is you can associate them. So if I right click on this one, I can say associate, and I associate it to that one, so that now when I move these, they move in unison. Same idea here with the top and the bottom ones. Now that I've placed my 4 mill tabs, I can copy these out to the rest of my boards. As a last step, I can now go in here and merge web routes in any areas that would drop out. Now all that's left would be to add some callouts maybe to various areas on this panel. Looks like we're not using scoring, so we'd probably get rid of this detail. The mill tab detail itself is already showing the mill tabs that we used along with the hole sizes. So I would only need to add some dimensions and I would pretty much be done with this array drawing. Now I'm going to create this array drawing a different way. The first thing I'm going to do is go back to the Format option and remove the spacing between the boards. I'm now going to grab this first web route and apply it to the rest of my images. Now I'm going to add either horizontal and vertical scores in between the boards here, 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 and here. And what that'll allow me to do is merge the score lines and the web routes so that all I'm left with is the web route at the top and bottom. Let me show you this with one of them and then we'll move ahead just to save a little time here. So I'm going to drop down a horizontal score line. I now take this and snap it to that edge of my boards. I can drag it over here to the panel edge. There's also an orthogonal lock here that you might find useful in doing this. That way you don't accidentally drag it at an angle. Now I've got my horizontal score line. I simply want to add some vertical score lines. So again, same idea. Generally want to be zoomed in when you do this so that you make sure that you get that snapped. Once I do have it snapped, then I'll drag it out to the edges. I have a step and repeat option here that I can use to copy this over 2 additional times if I wanted to use that. I just need to know the distance from this edge of the board to this edge of the board and then to the last board over here. I can also just do it by copy and paste. But if I do it this way, then I do have to go back in and make sure that I get that snapped. So now I have my combination of web routes and scores. If I click on a score and go to Format, there are options as far as how it clips the web routes. So you can set these up and you can default these. Right now we want it to remove the web routes wherever there's a score line. So I'll merge, and what I'm left with is score lines and just this area here to be routed out. Now I could put a mill tab in there as well if I wanted to and have a combination of all 3 methodologies. But here's just a quick way to do it without having to use mill tabs. And now I would just delete my mill tab detail again, add some callouts wherever I wanted to. It's just as easy to do here as it is elsewhere in the tool. You just basically point towards what you want this callout to snap to, and it is hyperlinked if you're doing electronic documentation. I did place a couple of dimensions in here, and I just want to show you one of the other features is that if you format this dimension, I can have it add up the number of pinning holes that are in line with this particular dimension, and the same idea of course here. And as you can see, that works for fiducials, datum points, and mill tabs. And there's my panel drawing done as a combination of web routes and score lines, as opposed to doing web routes with mill tabs. All these options are available to you in BluePrint PCB in the Assembly Panel Drawing Editor.